This is the meeting for it is 9:03. The meeting is now in order. This is the meeting for the Board for Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists. And we'll start with roll call.
President Martinez. President Martinez.
Here.
Vice President Rufino.
Present.
Dr. Amistad. Dr. Ascari.
Here.
Ms. D'Antonio.
Here.
Ms. Haggard.
Here.
Mr. Hallinan. Mr. Hartley.
Here.
Ms. Matheson.
Here.
Mr. Sanchez.
Here.
Mr. Villegas.
Here.
Mr. Waldeck.
Here.
Ms. Wong.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 2, Pledge of Allegiance.
Please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, justice, liberty, and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 3, public comment for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public that would like to make any comments?
While we're waiting on people to come up, I handed out a sheet of paper. This is additional public comment from a gentleman from last meeting, emailed it to me, asked me to share it with you. So it's just additional public comment.
Thank you. Are there any members in the room that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. Okay, so there's a 30-second time limit, and I will give a 30-second warning. We already have people with their hands raised, but for those who would like to make a comment, just know that you can click on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, press *3. Our first person is Scott Jarrick. And Scott, you should be able to unmute yourself.
I can. There's a very bad echo that's happening. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, President, Board Member, and Executive Director Moore. My name is Scott Jarrick. I'm a retired licensed engineer and one of the organizers of a volunteer program called Operation Math Lift. It's my understanding that Executive Moore has provided board members with a short handout describing the program, and I appreciate the opportunity for you to review that information. I want to sincerely thank Director Moore for offering to include an article about Operation Math Lift in the board's quarterly newsletter. I truly appreciate his willingness to help raise awareness of the program. Operation Math Lift places retired and practicing engineers into elementary school classrooms where they work one-on-one and in small groups with students who are struggling with foundational math skills. Teachers, principals, and district administrators strongly support the program because it provides something schools rarely have enough of: individual attention for students who are falling behind. And the need is significant. Across California, more than half of the students are not meeting state math standards. This means millions of young people are entering middle and high school without the mathematical foundation that engineering and technical careers require. Operation Math Lift is working and the program is ready to grow, but the limiting factor is simple: volunteers. To expand meaningfully, we need hundreds of engineers willing to give even a small amount of time to help students strengthen the math skills that underlie every engineering career. California currently has well over 90,000 licensed professional engineers. If even a small fraction of those engineers volunteered a few hours a week, the impact on students could be extraordinary. A newsletter article is helpful, but realistically, it may not reach enough engineers to meet the need. The board already maintains a secure communication channel with licensees through its email system, and I'm not requesting access to those email addresses. I'm simply asking the board to consider whether a brief board-issued email notice about Operation Math Lift could be recognized as official board business allowing staff to occasionally inform licensees about this volunteer opportunity. This outreach would not be political, commercial, or promotional. It would simply notify engineers that their expertise is urgently needed. Finally, I would respectfully ask that the board let me know one way or another whether this type of outreach can be considered official board business so that we can move forward accordingly. I hope the board will consider whether enabling engineers to volunteer in this way is not only consistent with his mission, but is in a meaningful way for our profession to help solve one of California's most pressing educational challenges. Thank you for your time and your service.
All right, our next public comment is from Jim Foley. Jim, you should be able to unmute yourself. All right, Jim, you should see a pop-up telling you to unmute yourself. Go ahead and click on that. There you go. You're unmuted, Jim.
There you go. Am I good to go?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Board president, members of the board, Rick, Selena, staff members, and members of the public. My name is Jim Foley. I was privileged to serve on the board from 1998 to 2011. I wanted to call in to congratulate Selena on her retirement. I want to thank you, Selena, for all that you did for the board over the years. There were airplane reservations, accommodations, cars, finding and locating Cindy and Rick, which was not always an easy situation, and just the general stuff you did for the board. I'm very grateful for what you did in helping us all as board members. You made our lives a lot easier. It was always a pleasure to work with you. You were a bright spot and very cheerful in helping us. It was always fun to see you when we came up to the board headquarters for board meetings and everything. You were just a bright spot in the day and really a wonderful person to have as just helping us as board members function to the best of our ability and get to the meetings and everything else. Anyway, congratulations, Selena. Thank you very, very much for all you've done for us, and I wish you the best in your retirement. These are going to be the best years of your life now, and you certainly deserve it. Thank you so much.
All right, our next public comment is from Patrick Tammy. Patrick, you should see a cue to unmute yourself.
There we go.
We can hear you.
I'm going to echo a lot of what Jim just said. I wanted to congratulate Selena on your retirement as well. As a former board member, I can attest to how you truly are the backbone of the board. You made the impossible look easy. You were always friendly in your guidance whether you were onboarding new members or navigating the maze of flights and reimbursements, and you handled it all with grace. I still remember to this day, you'd jump into action when a meeting was going to end early and you'd rework everybody's flights and hotels and take care of us so that we could get home to our families a little bit sooner than we expected. And while the public may not see the complexity behind all the board meetings, as board members, we certainly do. You touched so many lives, and we're incredibly grateful for the mark you left on the board. And I wish you a retirement as smooth and seamless as the itineraries you created for us.
All right, our next public comment. Yes, if we can have them remuted, that'll stop the echo. Thank you for that. So our next public comment is from Steve Brown. And Steve, you should see a prompt to unmute yourself. All right, Steve Brown, we'll try that again. If you see a prompt to unmute yourself, go ahead and click on it. All right, Steve Brown, looks like you might be, there you go. Steve, you're unmuted.
All right, I had two buttons I had to hit. Steve Brown, licensed traffic engineer. I just wanted to point out to the board that the term traffic engineer, I think, is outdated. the term implies auto only. And the reality in today's world as a transportation engineer is we deal with all modes of travel. So I just wanted to ask the board to consider revising the name from traffic engineer to transportation engineer, as it more accurately reflects the reality of what engineers in California do who have that license. So thanks for your consideration on that.
All right, so Steve has muted himself, so I'm not seeing any other raised hands. So with that, I return the floor back to you, Mr. Board President.
Thank you. Thank everyone for your comments. Moving on to item number 4, administration. Sorry. And I will say thank you everybody for your comments. Moving on to item 4, administration. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. My name is Dawn Hall. I'm the Administrative Services Unit Manager, and I'm going to give you an update to the financial report. I believe in your board materials, it starts on page 14 with a summary of the board's revenue for fiscal year to date through FM6. There's no change from the prior board materials in terms of the revenue projections. And I'll move on to page 15. This is the FM6 actual year to date and also updated projections for year end. There is an increase in the total expenses projected for the year end, mostly an additional print contract, and there was an increase in the DCA pro rata. It doesn't actually have a big impact in the total fund condition. The fund condition statement is on page 16, and you'll see that there's been some adjustments to the state pro rata. And so the actual months in reserve is up last period or the last projections in the board materials from January. Does anybody have any questions?
Betsy?
Thank you for the report, and I'm excited to see the upward change in the months in reserve. At past meetings, I've asked about the printing services because I know it was supposed to decrease, and I noticed it went up this time. And because you mentioned it, what is this new contract?
It's a change in the print vendor, and so some of the systems that we rely on at DCA are dated and difficult to work with. And so it's my understanding that a previous contractor declined to renew the contract. And so there's a new contract. I know I have been telling you, Betsy, and the board for a while, we're trying to change our reliance on that print contract, and we're making headway. I'm pleased to report that hopefully next fiscal year we'll be able to actually stop using the print contract and move to a different notification for some of the renewal notices. So that's in the works, and that should reduce those costs. The other thing is what we project in terms of the expenses includes the full encumbrance of all of the contracts. And you may have noticed that it's kind of an ongoing refrain where I tell you it includes the full encumbrance. It's a projection, and the actual expenses are usually less. And so I don't expect the actual print expenses to be that high, especially because it does include overlap between two contracts. Thank you. Does that help? Yes.
Betsy, I'd like to I'm not sure if you said it. If you said it, just tell me to shut up. This is our portion of a DCA contract with a print vendor. It's not a contract that we are setting up individually. So we get notified about what our portion is, and if there's any changes about that.
Just two questions on the reimbursements. Which is the largest reimbursement? And it. Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the first prong of my question was, what's the biggest entity in the reimbursement side of that? And secondly, what's the impact of inflation on some of the major expenses? Do we expect to see a 5-10% leap in expenses for the upcoming fiscal year?
Okay, so to answer your question about the reimbursements are a little bit like sales tax. And so we collect fees for background, and then we have to remit those fees to DOJ and FBI for background that are required initial applications. So that is the largest portion of reimbursements, and it's reflected in the revenues and expenses. And so the net change to the board fund condition is zero. In terms of inflation, we project a 3% increase year over year as standard. We haven't changed that projection. I don't know that we've gotten any guidance to expect that inflation is going to increase. So no, we haven't projected any change in the expenses over a standard 3% increase.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, are there any comments from the public in the room? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no raised hands. I return the floor back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, enforcement. Morning.
Good morning. I am Brooke Grabowski, the Enforcement Program Manager. The enforcement stats begin on page 21. Again, I'll echo the last board meeting. Things are looking good as they can with our current staff. And I will say that we've noted that the cases between 1 year and 3 years in the investigation, that is growing, and we're focusing our attention there to try to get some of those cases closed sooner rather than later. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Christina?
Not really like the data, but just wanting to know if there's anything significant or there's trend or something you see, in the enforcement, in the enforcement program, whether it's relating to, the nature of, violation and stuff. So just kind of want to have some heads up or behind the scene understanding.
Not much that I can think of. I think, you'll notice that there are a lot more cases being opened. We're 7 months into the fiscal year, and we already have 314 cases opened. Last year in the entire year was 398. I think that with the Connect system, it has made it a lot easier for people to file complaints. And with that, we're receiving more we also have more cases that are filed that we don't get enough documentation or to open, or the complaints aren't related to our. So those are also taking some additional time to try to obtain that information, or let those people know that these matters aren't within our jurisdiction.
So how is the workload, with the staff, having more of the numbers of investigation going on?
It's a lot, when they have larger caseloads, trying to stay on top of all of the cases it's tough to maintain.
Yes, I'm going to comment. This is also, enforcement is one of the 2 units where we lost a position. Couple, was it last year or a year before, but we had to cut positions, and we lost position in licensing and enforcement. So that's also compounding the distribution of the workload that Brooke is having to deal with.
So should the board be concerned?
Should the board be concerned? I know that Brooke has come to me several times over the last few weeks, and she has plans in place, and she's working with her staff to collaboratively work out some kind of situation on how we can handle the increase in the volume at this point. That's all I can really say right at this point. They're trying to figure out some plans on how to handle it.
Thank you. Sorry to put you under the spotlight.
Thank you.
Rick, just a quick follow-up, if I may, with respect to the losing position. Do you recall, was that a 1 PY or 1.5? How many? And was that part of the reduction that we went through?
Yes, it was part of that reduction that all state offices had to do, and our portion was, I think it was this like 1.9 PYs or something like that. So we ended up losing 2 positions, and it was positions that we had open. So they were vacant positions, and we were not able to fill those.
Okay. And was there any provisions at all that would prevent us from submitting a BCP in the future to try to regain? I know it's a difficult process. I grant no questions about that, but I'm just don't recall if there was anything that prevented us from trying it a different fiscal year.
No, we can certainly try to submit a BCP for that. I don't think this year is a good climate to do that with all the unknowns going on, but we can certainly do that. We can certainly consider it each year. We would have had enough justification to do that, and certainly an increase in volume of complaints would help with that justification. Also, length of time with the investigations, anything that could help support that. But it would be very difficult in this budgetary climate to even be able to do that right now.
Yeah, I concur 100%. Definitely not this fiscal year, but I will strongly encourage down the road when, quote unquote, it's appropriate. We're not sure when that will happen, but at least to try to regain, trying to do a BCP and try to justify if the workload obviously warrants that sort of request. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Phil?
Just a very quick, and I don't think this is a usual question or it's a unique question. Have you uncovered more common scam, fraudulent complaints coming on between competing professionals, wherein one company or somebody from a company will call in a complaint against another, for example, surveyor? Have you seen a lot of those lately?
We have not that I can think of off the top of my head. No. something that we are seeing a lot of is unlicensed offering through freelance websites.
Oh, I see. And those are on the internet?
Yes.
And how do we prosecute those?
It's very difficult where we don't have really a means to find these people. A lot of the times they're overseas. We're essentially referring people to the FBI and law enforcement.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Brooke.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Are there any comments from the public in the room? Seeing none, moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment on agenda item 5, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called into the meeting, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is the moderator. I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. And thank you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 6, exams and licensing.
So our exams manager, Larry Carest, is virtual and he should be speaking any moment.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Larry Carest, and I am the manager of examination development. I didn't know if I was still echoing. I apologize for not being able to be there this morning, but I did want to share with you today the examination results for the year 2025. And those numbers start on page 29. Page 29 shows the results for each of our state civil exams, broken down into quarters, and then at the bottom of it is the total for the entire year. Page 30 has all the other state exams on it, as well as the National Geology exam results on there. Page 31 has the California candidates taking the NCES exam. And then page 32 is really just a historical view of each of the state exams as well as the National Geology exams, going back as far as 2018. And in case the question comes up as to why we went back that far, I like to see the numbers before, during, and after the pandemic, just to see how it may have affected the candidate totals. And so a couple of things that I noticed in looking at this history, 2025 was a good year in terms of candidate populations, candidate being examining populations. Of our 9 state exams, 6 of them had the highest totals since at least 2018, which is very encouraging considering the it's always a hill to climb every time I think about the pandemic and how some exams didn't happen at all. So bringing people back in and then seeing these numbers being higher in some cases than they were before then is encouraging. It's always good to see the numbers being so high. And so I just wanted to show you that, kind of point that out to you. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding these exams.
Thank you.
No.
Okay, there.
There you go.
Thank you so much for the report. In my other life, I serve and currently chair our Southern Marin Fire District Board, and I couldn't help but notice the total number of candidates for fire protection engineer was 0. Could you, if you're able to, share some light on that actual position? And is it just something very specialized? And is this something that needs to be brought up to their, to the fire protection world? Answer that any way you'd like. Thank you.
Sure. And what I should have done actually is put a little notification in there on examinations that are only taking place in the spring and those that only take place in the fall. The fire protection examination only takes place in the spring. So in the spring, they had a total of 56 candidates, and it shows 0 for the fall because the exam is not given in the fall. It's only given once a year. So that's the reason it shows a 0. I hope that answers the question.
6, I saw go from 56 down to 0. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Betsy and then Phil.
Thank you. Larry, it's good to hear you, even though we can't see you. I really appreciate the exam statistics through time on page 32. And I hope it's not too much to ask for some line graphs next. At a glance, the various trends in particularly pass rates. And that would be my first interest, and then eventually population, people taking the exams through history. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to dovetail Cliff's comments. I also see zeros and goose eggs on nuclear engineering, et cetera. Are those exam dates also scheduled for the spring?
Yes. And again, apologies for that because I have done that in the past where I would put the NA on it just so that we can see that. And this time I didn't do that. I just had it as a 0. But yes, it was only that one time a year.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, yes, it was. It's only given once a year. So that
normally he puts an NA in that box, but he
NA.
did not do that this time, so he'll do that in the future.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, Phil and Cliff, that if you look at the nuclear engineer exam that was given in the fall, we only had one candidate from California, and we're usually the highest volume candidates in the country for most of these exams. So that gives you one indication as to why it was only offered once a year. There's just not a lot of candidates. So, but yeah, I agree. An NA there, like Larry usually does, probably be more helpful.
Yeah.
Herman?
Okay, Board Member Villegas here. Just a quick observation question, I guess. On the tables on page 29, the exam results and rates, I've noticed that in each quarter, the first month of the quarter, you have the highest pass rate. And then it trails off. It's almost, and then the second month is the second highest, third month is the third highest. And it's pretty much a pattern throughout. And I'm just curious as to if you have any insight as to why that might be.
I only make an assumption based on what I've seen. And a lot of the candidates want to take the exam earlier in the quarter for 2 reasons. Number one, they're ready to take it and they want to take their exam. But number 2, I'm sure in the back of their mind, if for some reason they are not successful with the exam, they would want to be able to sign up for the exam again at their earliest opportunity. And the way that we have this set up is that if you want to apply and schedule for the following quarter, you have to do it within a certain amount of time. So this way it gives them more opportunity to be able to take the test again, or a faster opportunity to be able to take the test again if they take in the first quarter. But I would like to think that they're ready to take the test, so they want to take it as soon as possible. But this is definitely something that we have seen historically, is that they will take it early. The majority, the higher scorers will take it at the beginning of the quarter.
Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit to that too. We noticed that when we went to quarterly exam, more often, more frequent examination administration for the civils, this popped up right away. In addition to what Larry is saying, we also have another assumption that we think the people that sign up for the first quarter in the very beginning of the quarter are the ones that probably feel a little bit more prepared and ready. But he's actually correct, because if you take the exam toward the end of the quarter and get your results the next month, it's always the next month you get your results, then they lose their opportunity to schedule for that next quarter if they fail. So they'll have to skip a quarter. Whereas if they take the exam, say, instance, in January, they'll get their results in early February. Then if they fail, they can schedule right then for the next quarter. So that's where Larry's assumption is coming in too, that probably has some effect in there. But it doesn't really speak to the pass rate. The pass rate is, we think it's more about they're more prepared, they're ready, we want to get licensed. So it's kind of interesting trends that we see there, but it's been very consistent ever since we went with this format of administration.
Thank you.
I don't know.
You go. I go. Hi, Larry. A quick question about the structural exam. So structural exam, as you have written there, it has 4 sections, but is reported as 2 sections, vertical and lateral. So is like a vertical combined 2 different vertical? How is it reported? Like vertical had 2 components of breadth and multiple choice. So how is it reported here at the bottom of page 31?
Yeah, when the structural exam first broke into those 4 sections, and the results had come out, there, it's a little, I'm not going to say controversial, but there were a lot of people that were not happy with the way the results were showing and who was happening. And in order for us to be able to really show the results, it was easier for us to combine the 2 into one so that you have vertical and you have lateral. But you have actually, it's just a combination of the breadth and I'm missing it on my head. Those 2 are combined to be able to show it into one.
Okay, thank you.
So talking about structural engineering exam, so it looks like the the score, I mean the passing rate, for California definitely have increased. So I know it's been a concern, at the national level. So that's a good thing. So just one remark. I wonder, I think I made that I think I made that comment before, about how California compared to the national passing rate. So I'm just wondering, maybe it's just out of my curiosity. I would love to, to just see how California compared, the passing rate compared to the national in average. I think it's actually, would be some useful information, for whether it's educational institution or whatever, to really see like, how we're doing and then areas that they could also, help improve. So is that a possibility to include, the national passing rate?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Not much more I can say. Other than, I think it was a couple of board meetings ago, I gave you a little bit more line charts on the structural pass rates, and I think, compare it to the national. I'm still maintaining those charts, and I'm watching those. It's just the structural is offered twice a year. So there's not a lot of change that quickly. But I haven't had time to talk to Larry about that, but I want to show him what the latest was and kind of talk about it and see how we can continue to possibly show that to you when it's the appropriate time after some changes. So maybe this next time would be a good opportunity. We'll see, but we'll talk more about it. And I will hand over those charts to Larry and let him take it from there.
Yeah, I recall the charts were very helpful, and definitely address some concerns, at least in California, how we respond. and and on top of that, I know, so for the rest of the engineering exam, will that also be, we don't need charts, but will for the pass percentage, for the national, so I know it's probably, extra work, but would that be
some that we maintain continuously and are in our board bulletin once a year. And it's something we can share. We do it with our outreach a lot. Our senior registrars do that with the outreach. We don't do it for all the exams, but we do it for mainly the practice acts and the structural. And we can certainly provide you more information. I will say that nationally speaking, we're almost always below the national pass rate. Every once in a while, one of them will creep up and go over the national pass rate for a given administration, but we're almost always below historically. So,
what will be the explanation?
My explanation that I've used for years is usually, and it's changing now, but usually it's because outside of California, the minimum requirements are usually a 4-year ABET degree and then 4 years of experience before you sit for the exam. And that kind of explained it where we're only 6 years and education is not required, it's optional. That was an easier explanation years ago, but as more member boards have allowed the engineers and surveyors to sit for the PE and the PS exams right after passing the fundamentals before they apply for licensure and stuff, before they gain all the years of experience, it's kind of muddied that a little bit. And I thought we would see more interaction, but we're still a little bit lower. But yeah, it's narrowed, but it's not quite. Every once in a while, you'll see a mechanical or electrical where we'll do a little bit better. I think twice in the past entire time I've been at the board, the surveyors have been better. But majority of the time, we're below the national average.
Thank you.
Bill?
I just had a note. I know California has one of the toughest exams in the nation. Do you know which state is the second toughest?
The best never looks at the next best. Honestly, I don't know if we're the toughest, but I hear we're the toughest, and it probably varies by exam. So I'm not really sure. We are one of the few states that actually have state exams. Not every state has state exams. Very few do. So, yeah.
Okay.
There any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'll open the floor up for public comment. Anyone in the room? Yep, come on up. Morning.
Morning. Josephson, there we go. Carl Josephson, Structural Engineers Association of California. Just to mention to Larry, I think it would be helpful if we listed the test results for all 4 of the exams, both the depth, breadth, vertical, and lateral. There's a lot of discussion at the national level about how the depth exam is doing. The pass rates on that have been low. I suspect they're low for California as well. It's a little bit misleading to see what the combined pass rate is because the exams are so different. So I think it would be helpful in the future to show all 4. Now, I realize that the breadth exam is on the fly. It can be taken any month or any time practically. And the depth is only given twice a year. But even if it was reported in 6-month increments, I think it would be helpful to see how we're doing, how we're comparing to the national exam. And I agree with Rick. I mean, traditionally, California has been below the national average. So it looks from looking at this like we're doing better than the national average. But I think that if you look at the individual exams, that's probably not the case. So the structural exam is changing next year. This year, actually, there will be an additional hour given for the depth portion of the structural exam. And there's still 60 questions as part of the depth portion. Next year, there will still be the extra hour, but it's going down to 48 questions. So we're expecting to see some difference in pass rates as this goes on, but that remains to be seen. So again, like I say, Larry, it would be helpful if you could show all 4 of those, but I'll let you and Rick arm wrestle about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Carl. Are
Thank
there
you,
any
Carl.
are there any other members from the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name or pressing *3 if you've called in. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, legislation.
Okay, so we'll start with the legislative calendar on page 35, focus on month February and March. So the events that have occurred since the last board meeting is February 20th was the last day for bills to be introduced, and boy, were they ever. You can see it, we amended the agenda every time Tiffany and I thought, okay, yes, we're done. All of a sudden another bill came out. So we even have a few more. We're monitoring that we think are spot bills that didn't even make the agenda this time because there's nothing for you to even consider yet. But we just wanted to let you know that there was a little bit of a rush there at the end. Also, given now that the bills are introduced, are starting to get scheduled for or being assigned to committees, but the hearings are just beginning to be scheduled. If you notice, the spring recess begins March 26th. So the first hearings in any of the initial committees will probably be next couple of weeks. We'll be monitoring that. So if there's any questions on the calendar, if not, I'll move on to the first bill. Okay. Tiffany's going to take the next 2 bills. You need this one, you got that.
Hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one in your packet, starting the summary on page 37 with the text behind it. This bill introduced is pretty much a follow-up to one that you may recall from last year, where in response to the fires and trying to process permitting quickly, a little more efficiently. So current law permits a permit applicant to have a qualified professional certifier as either an architect or an engineer to certify plans and specs for a tenant improvement for restaurants meet building health and safety codes. And it amended our Business and Professions Code section 6775 accordingly. This bill would establish a similar process for a local permit to add to a retailer as defined, and the text includes that. And so it adds a government code section to add to the retailers. So this would again amend 6775, providing that making the false statement as a qualified certifier in submitting a certificate as grounds for disciplinary action against the licensee. So again, similar to last year's, it just adds retailer along with restaurants for the tenant improvements. And at this time, we recommend taking a watch position on it.
Do I have any comments or questions from the board?
Do we need to take action, or do we on each individual?
You do not need to take any action. If we think it's a very good situation, we will let you know. When we recommend a watch position, it's up to you if you want to take a position or not. Okay, so we're going to watch it anyhow. When it is a change to our laws, I would recommend you take a position. If it's a change to other laws, that may impact our licensees or applicants, it's a little bit more discretionary on your part, I would say. And this is a change to our laws.
Okay, so as long as we don't object to the watch or we don't want to take a contrary position, we don't. Those are not required.
You can completely ignore us and take whatever position you want. We're giving you our best recommendation.
Of course. But either way, what I'm saying is we don't have to make a motion to say we approve the watch position. That's
Yes, you do.
we do.
That's taking a position. Someone's got to make a motion to do that.
Okay, so do we do that individually to council as individual or at the end of the presentation? Or after each one?
No, is this your first meeting, Frank? One board member can make a motion, another board member seconds.
Okay.
And then you'll final your discussion and ask for public comment before you take a vote. That's right, Chris, right?
Yep.
Got it.
On each bill.
On each bill.
On each bill.
Okay. Do I have a motion for this bill?
I move that we take a watch position on this bill.
A motion from Mike,
Second.
second from Betsy. Okay. Discussion, Cliff?
Yeah. I need a little bit of illumination how Sacramento or the legislature kind of works. We first had a restaurant bill. Now it's been expanded to a retail bill. How do we know when we are involved in sound public policy and not just effective lobbying by the restaurant association, the retailers association? I mean, how do you kind of separate it out? Because we could have legislation for special carve-outs or special considerations for all kinds of specific groups. So how do we sort that all out?
Well, I'm going to try to answer your question.
Thank you. That's
if this was not suggesting a revision to our laws, we would not be bringing this to your attention.
okay.
If it was a change to another code section outside of business professions codes that we regulate that required something of a licensee that we regulate, we would still bring it to your attention. But only for the fact that it could impact the licensees or the board's operations or applicants. We don't really get involved into why in these situations. I do agree, though, at certain points, it's like, why are you focusing on certain things? We kind of guessed last year it was the restaurants because restaurants probably go through a little bit more review and critiquing when they're doing tenant improvements, and the fires were affecting that, and they wanted them to be open again. I think it was more about the fact that the permit approval was so slow, they were trying to find a way to expedite that. Why this has come attention to retailers at this point, we have as much of a guess as you would. We have no idea.
You actually answered that question extremely well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congrats, Rick.
I need you to talk to my wife.
Are there any other questions or comments? Betsy?
Yeah. A general comment, following up on Frank's question about do we have to vote on taking a watch position when our staff's going to be watching it anyway? I think it's really important that the legislature knows that we are paying attention and our staff is reading the bills carefully and making recommendations, and we are watching you.
Right.
I think that deserves a well thought out response too, Cliff.
Anyone else from the board would like to make a comment or have a question? Seeing none, are there any comments from the public in the room? Seeing none, might open WebEx for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Selena, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Asgari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Madison,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, the summary's on in your packet on page 47. AB 1775, I introduced in the assembly. So we already have law under the Department of Consumer Affairs to expedite the initial licensure process for applicants who served as active duty members and honorably discharged. This bill extends that requirement to include members who are also discharged solely as a result of executive order under President Trump issued in January of 25. The bill amends the Military Veterans Code as well, in addition to the general B&P code under that licensure process. So the text of the bill and for your reference, the executive order is also included in your packets. So the impact, we don't think it's likely to be significant based on the lower number of applicants we already have expedited under the current law for the expedited licensure process. So at this time, we recommend taking a watch position as introduced. And then just an update to that, it's currently been referred to the Committee of Military and Veterans Affairs.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions from the board? Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion from Frank and a
Second.
from Bell. Okay. Is there any other discussion from the board?
So what the motion is, it
Seeing none,
or to support?
the floor is now open to the public for public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment? Oh,
Just
sorry.
want to clarify, the motion is to
Watch.
to watch.
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't.
Yes, to watch. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment from the public? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Selena, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Asgari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hart, Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to AB 1933, which begins on page 55. So last year, this is a bill that is sponsored by California Land Surveyors Association, CLSA. Last year, the association reached out to, I think it was the Business Professions Committee at the Senate, with some ideas, some changes that they thought may not be controversial. And they only chose to do one of the ideas last year. That was the adding the date to the statement that the land surveyor signs on a record of survey, which this board supported. And it became effective this January. These are the other remaining items that they decided to bring in forth as a bill because the committee said, yeah, you need to bring that forward as a bill. So basically, there's a couple things here. There are concerns that we have heard from various county surveyors over the last couple of years where two situations predominantly have come to their attention. One, records of surveys are being submitted that probably are not ready to be submitted, ready to be checked by them. And they believe that the licensed surveyor, the person authorized to practice surveying, really hasn't seen this before it was submitted. And in other situations, they believe they're dealing with unlicensed people trying to submit maps, and they have concerns about whether they're actually their comments and their reviews are getting back to the licensees. So that's my understanding is the impetus behind this is how do we ensure communication with the licensee that has signed and sealed, who has performed a survey and signed and sealed the record of survey and submitting it. So they're trying to ensure that the best they can. Of course, in today's world, if someone mails something to you, you don't know if it's the licensee mailing it to you. If someone's doing a lot of map submittals online, because now they do a lot of online acceptance, you don't really know if that licensee is behind that email address. But they're trying what they can. So one of the things they wanted to do was to change a current section that allows them to return the record of survey to the licensee, kind of formalize what they're trying to do right now is what we tell them is initiate communication with the licensee so that you feel like you're talking to the right person and they're aware of it. So that's one portion of it. I'm actually going to go look at the language because it's easier for me to see what they're trying to do there. They're also making some gender neutral changes. Anytime any legislation introduced, where legislative council is making sure that's being done. So if you look at 8767, the sentence now reads, otherwise the county surveyor shall return it to the person who presented it. They want that to say, who presented, return it to the licensed land surveyor or registered civil engineer who presented it. Presumably the person who's in responsible charge listed on the map. So that's one of the situations. The other situation is, this is near the bottom of page 58, 8773.2. A corner record submitted to the county surveyor or engineer shall be examined by him or her. So now that's changing to county surveyor or engineer. I'll come back a little bit to that. So they're wanting to clarify who him and her are. And then they, down below, for compliance with subdivision D of section 8765 and sections, they're adding 8772. 8772 is the section in the Land Surveyors Act that specifies that if you set a monument, you have to mark it with your license number. If you're an agency who's setting a monument, it has to be marked with at least the agency's information. So traditionally, currently, when they're reviewing a record of survey or a corner record, they do not have responsibility to review in compliance with 8772. They want to have that ability to review that now. What we don't know as staff is we don't know if that means that they're just looking at the map and it says, I set a tag on this pipe that says, here's my license number, or if they are wanting as a county surveyor and staff to go out and physically inspect those monuments. We don't know the extent of what they're hoping to do by this. In one sense, we would understand what they're trying to say. In the other sense, we have concerns that this could ultimately lead to increased fees for reviewing maps. And which would be then transferred to the public. And at a certain point, you have to trust the licensee, what they're saying. And so we're not really sure. We did have a conversation with representatives of the sponsor, had a very good conversation with them about some of our thoughts and what we were thinking about this. They were going to go back and talk to their group and decide what they could do and work with the author's office to try to address our concerns. One of the other things that we asked is, if you look back up on page 58 under 8767, it says, return it to the licensed land surveyor or registered civil engineer. First of all, anytime we get a chance to change registered to licensed to match our laws, a more modern representation of civil engineer or professional engineer, we do. And they understood that. But I also pointed out to them, they tried to use a term that was already used in this section, licensed land surveyor, registered civil engineer. I pointed out to them that that term only existed in 4 places in the entire Professional Engineers Act. And it was only in reference to this corner record review. So I asked them to just change that to a person that's authorized to practice land surveying, or the county surveyor, but don't say county surveyor or engineer, because only a county surveyor has the statutory authority to do a review, regardless of whether they're a licensed land surveyor or a pre-82 licensed civil engineer. They're still, their title is county surveyor. So they're considering all of these things. We're waiting to hear back from them and from the author's office on this. So what we're asking you to do as a board is to take a watch position, but also direct staff to continue working with the bill's sponsor and author to address the board's concerns and any or other concerns that you may have, and revise language as appropriate.
Okay, Cliff, and then Betsy.
I kind of get the sense that we're kind of in spring training. So, which means we're taking a watch position on the bills we ought to follow and need to follow. And it's not until September when we're entering the playoffs, we start to take actual yes or no positions on any of the playoff team bills, because a lot could happen between spring training and the playoffs.
That's kind of true, actually. That's a pretty accurate statement. I think our history of working with this association is very good, and we have open communication with them for anything we've ever had, but mutually both ways. Tiffany and I discussed this. If we wouldn't have had that ability to talk with them, we would have probably reached out with the author's office and expressed our concerns and not know how they would have operated. We also have a good relationship with the author of this bill, but we were very close to saying oppose unless amended on this because of a few wordings that just did not sound right. The only reason we're saying watch is because we've already had a conversation trying to understand where they were coming from. And that we know in the past, we've worked very well with them, and we think that they're going to take our concerns seriously. So we'll see, but that's why we took the watch position.
Thank you.
Betsy.
Thank you, staff, for keeping track of all the subtle details of this. And thanks for following up on the question about, does the county surveyor have to go out to the site, or is the examination done in the office? One other detail that you may be addressing, I can't tell yet, is the term presented the survey or submitted the survey. I know we want the comments to get back to the person authorized to practice land surveying. But are they necessarily the one who presented the survey? Why do we care who presented it or who submitted it?
Tiffany actually brought it up during our conversation with the association. Presented has been there a long time. They're basically presenting the map to the county. They're not something new that they're putting in there. Another thing that Tiffany brought up was that our laws also have a section about subordinates. It's under the exemption for licensed or subordinate, unlicensed person can practice or perform surveying, I should say, as long as they're under responsible charge of someone appropriately licensed. In many cases, and Mike, you probably could back this up, many cases, unlicensed subordinates are the ones who are actually online submitting the map or walking down and giving it to the county surveyor, say, hey, we're submitting this survey to be checked. So there are statutory situations where an unlicensed person could do this. And I would say in most cases, the county surveyors that have talked to us, they usually know who those people are because they've worked with them in the past. It's the ones they don't know, or the ones that they only know by emails, or the ones that they're concerned about that they've never heard from in the past. Because keep in mind, we have a lot of licensees that are licensed outside the state or reside outside the state. So I think when they think in terms of presenting it, it's submitting it for review. And I don't know any other explanation for that, but that's where that comes from.
Well, thank you for the background. I'm still wondering why we care how it got to the surveyor. Isn't the important thing?
Well, we don't really care. What they're trying to say is they want to be able to return it. So otherwise, the county surveyor should return it to the licensee, who is technically the one responsible for presenting it. So if it was done online through an online process of submittal, and all the communication has been through an unlicensed person, and they have concerns that they think this doesn't look like a licensed surveyor would have prepared this way. It's very incomplete. It's not done correctly. They have a lot of concerns about the thing. They'll reach out and they'll say, we need to talk to Richard Moore, who signed and sealed this map, this submittal. And sometimes they get pushback. Oh, he's not available. Well, we're not going to do anything until we talk to that licensee. We want to make sure the comments actually are getting to that licensee. So to them, this is not about who really presented it. It's to the licensed land surveyor who has indicated they're responsible for it.
I agree. So I'm wondering if we can get rid of some of the complicated language and just say that the comments have to get back to the licensed person who prepared, signed, stamped.
We discussed that. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we discussed that about to the person who was in responsible charge of the survey instead of presented it. That's one of the things we did talk about when we talked to the association. You could do a couple things. You could look at our recommendation for the motion, directing us to work with them continually on that, or you could choose to do an oppose unless amended and then tell us what language you would like us to come up with. Because then we have to actually submit that language to the author. It's a little bit more formal.
Thank you.
Rick, do you know if the Professional Practices Committee from CLSA was part of this discussion?
I do not know. I know that, I know because it's told to me through our contacts at the association that anything that comes into bill form comes from the legislative committee of CLSA, gets approved by the board of directors, and then they go look for an author.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I move the staff recommendation in its entirety. I think that's the best choice at this time and gives the greatest flexibility for staff to continue the discussion for any possible changes.
I second that.
So just to clarify, you move that the board take a watch position.
Yes.
I need you to actually say it because if you don't, then Chris will yell at me later.
No problem. Well, then let's make it even more formal. I move that the board take a watch position on AB 1933 as introduced on February 13, 2026, and direct staff to continue working with the bill's sponsor and author to address the board's concerns and revise the language as appropriate.
Okay, have a motion from Frank and a second from Mike.
I second that.
Just one last thing before you go to public comment and vote. As of right now, it has been assigned to the Committee on Business and Professions. It may be heard in committee March 16th, so we'll just continue to monitor that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion from the board? Christine?
So I'm not a professional member, but it looks like this bill, one of the purpose or one of the results, of the bill, would be to, to try to, to not get rid of, trying to really, help with the unlicensed activity.
I would say that's one of two primary intents, but based on what I understand, that's one of the primary intents is to help curb unlicensed activity. The other thing is to make sure that when a map is being submitted for review, it's actually ready according to the requirements of the Land Surveyors Act. And the county surveyor is not wasting time, surveyors' money / clients' money / public's money in doing multiple reviews, and it's not even ready yet. And they have situations where they're returning comments, and when the next submittal comes in, they're seeing comments that weren't even addressed, and they're wanting to know where we need to talk to the licensee about this. So I think that is the other part of that situation. And getting back to our concern about what level or extent they would take to verifying what's tagged on these monuments. For subdivision maps, which is under a whole different code, I know that many county surveyors go out themselves or send their staff out to verify monuments before they sign off on a subdivision map. And that's costs that are on the owner, developer, whoever's doing that subdivision map. That's where our concerns come in is, are you going to increase costs? Record survey reviews can already be very costly in many areas of the state. And we've expressed our concerns about that. We've asked the sponsor is there a way that you could put something into the language that says that this does not require a field visit by the county surveyor or field verification or something along that line, to try to possibly limit how far we take this. So we'll see where that goes. But I just want to emphasize that a little bit to see if you guys are okay with that. Because this is your position, not my position.
Thank you. Like, I have one more.
Sure.
So in your, page 56, there is a probably error, right, about the gender specific language. So, I want to make sure that, the board also, can you speak a little bit more about that too?
Yeah, that goes down to, so near the bottom of page 59 under paragraph D. So this is after the corner record is, okay, we've agreed corner record's ready to be filed. It says the corner record filed with the county surveyor of any county shall be securely fastened by him or her into a suitable book provided for that purpose. They're recommending that change to fastened by the person submitting the corner record. Well, the surveyor that submitted the corner record has no statutory requirement to have a book and index anything. Only the county surveyor does. So when we pointed that out to the sponsor, they're like, oh yeah, we can make that change. I think they got a little bit overzealous of what they were changing there. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Open the floor.
Actually, yeah. One. So in my practice of land surveying, oftentimes when we submit a map for review, the office that's accepting the presentation requires us to stamp in and sign this preliminary copy for review. That goes a long way toward that recipient knowing that the licensee actually took the time to stamp and sign it and hopefully reviewed it. Do you know if, I mean, have there ever been any complaints filed about work product that was insufficient? I mean, when it's stamped and signed, it's deemed finished, complete, even though we're submitting this. Has there ever been?
Many times.
Oh,
many times. Yes. Sometimes the licensee, it came out that the licensee really did not exercise appropriate responsible charge. Other times they did, and they were negligent. So it's we hear a lot of claims. I was too busy. I just signed that and sealed it, and we didn't give it enough attention. I'm sorry. I won't do it again, kind of thing. You would also be surprised how easy it is to recreate or create a seal and the signature electronically, and there's no licensee involved whatsoever. So again, another way that you can only insure so much. Yeah.
Is there any other comments from the board? Seeing none, the floor is not open for the public in the room to make public comment. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment? Seeing none, moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Selena, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rubino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I think we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We'll be back at 10:35. Thank you, everyone. Everybody is back. We have a quorum. Am I good with WebEx? I'm good with WebEx.
Yes, you're good with WebEx.
Oh.
Okay, we're back. We're back on the regular agenda. So I'll hand it back over to Rick.
Okay, we're going to pick up again on page 61. This is AB 1999. This is the bill that's introduced. We believe this. We haven't had a chance to talk to the author's office about this one yet. It is focusing on a little used section of the Land Surveyors Act where way back in time they added photogrammetry to the Land Surveyors Act, Section A 775. It was a one-time issuance of licenses. I believe it was 104 licenses issued at the time.
Wow.
And I think a few years ago, the last license finally did not renew. So we don't have any of them renewed. They were kind of grandfathered in individuals that had expertise in photogrammetry at that time. So we had 104 photogrammetric surveyors at one time. It looks like a spot bill. We're not really sure what's happening here. We have our suspicions about what may be happening. It's related to a certain federal lawsuit and GIS and mapping, but we're not really sure. That's a suspicion. We'll find out more when we talk to the author's office. It's up to you if you want to take a watch position at this point. I would suggest do that because it's part of our laws so that we will, as Betsy said earlier, serve notice that we are watching. And that's all I really have at this point.
Okay. Do you have any comments or questions from the board?
I will make a motion to take a watch position.
I have a motion from Christina and a second from Cliff. Or is that a second or a comment?
It's a quick comment.
Comment.
I am reticent, and I should probably just jumped on my phone and look up what a photogrammetric surveyor does or is, because it would not be wouldn't be good public policy on my behalf to be voting on something that I have no idea what it actually a photogram of survey is. So please, I might be the only one, but could somebody enlighten me on this position?
Go for it, Mike.
Has there been a second?
No. There's not been a second.
I'll second.
So I have a second from Mike.
And you would like an explanation of what a photogrammetric surveyor is?
Your mic's not on, Mike.
Mike on. Mike.
Cliff, you'd like a,
Yeah.
are you familiar with what photogrammetry is?
Well, I mean,
It's basically mapping that results from aerial photographs being taken in stereo, meaning overlap, where there's the ability to determine 3 dimensions because of this overlap. That's how all the USGS quad maps were done back in the 50s and 60s, and it's an ability to cover typically large areas that traditionally with regular surveying means would take far too long. So photogrammetry is a way to do large scale mapping projects through the use of aerial photography.
And is that, I mean, I know like from going on backpack trips as a kid, you'd have the topo maps and everything, but is this a current type of surveying that is being done now, or is it old school, like having alchemists or something like that?
No, it's both. There's still large scale photogrammetric projects. Typically planes will have cameras in them and they're flying at fairly high altitudes, but with the use of drones and cameras, now you can do much smaller projects using photogrammetry. So it's both.
Okay, thank you. I feel expert on it. Bring it on, Jeopardy.
So what happened, Cliff, is in California, topographic mapping was always considered a part of land surveying, which was also surveying that at that time civil engineers were allowed to do too, and they still can do photogrammetry. It's just a methodology used for topographic mapping, like Mike explained very well there. What happened was there was a lawsuit way back in, I think it was the 50s or 60s, where someone who was unlicensed, who was not a surveyor, got a big public works project in California. And there was a lawsuit that went all the way to California Supreme Court. And the California Supreme Court ruled that photogrammetry, the methodology, was not surveying at that point. The very next year, there was legislation introduced to add photogrammetry to the practices of land surveying and civil engineering. And that's how long it's been there. Not every state includes mapping and photogrammetric methods as part of surveying, but we do. So that's where it really originated from. But as Mike said, it's still something very active today, just using slightly different tools than they used to.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions or comments?
And I think at the time when that lawsuit passed and that legislation was introduced, you had all these people that were nationally certified through a professional organization as certified photogrammetrists, and they had a great deal of expertise in what they did. They weren't necessarily licensed surveyors or engineers. So the legislature probably worked with the board to establish a method to grandfather them in, hence the 104 licenses that were issued.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Yep.
But this bill is, making non-substantive change, not really changing, much of the nature of the photogrammetry surveyor. So, right? I mean, is that correct? Because I think that's, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
right now,
clarify what
there's no changes really being proposed doesn't make any kind of difference. That's why we think it's a spot bill. So when they do a spot bill, they have, that's what I've been told, is it has to be a spot bill. So they have to show some kind of to the statute that they intend to change once they have the language. And so that gives us some indication that they're considering something related to photogrammetric services or mapping.
Okay, thank you. We'll open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public has a comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Selena, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next. Going to AB 2287 begins on page 64. So this is an interesting bill, to say the least. This does not affect our laws the way it's currently written. But we want to bring it to your attention because it's our understanding that this is a reflection of our response to, if you remember last year, AB 1341, which this board supported, which would have made a change to the contractors' laws, that if we disciplined anyone for doing unlicensed surveying, engineering, geology, geophysics, we issued a citation and fine. And once that process was over, we would share that with the contractors board, and they would have the ability to discipline them simply for breaking our laws. Make it through appropriations last year, if you remember. This is, it looks like a reaction attempt. We are not sure what is meant by use of technology, tools, or equipment, other than the obvious, but we're not really sure what that definition is and what they're saying. We also don't know what the definition of construction work really means. We did have a discussion with CSLB. They were about as much in the dark we were about it, and we're hoping that we knew more. We told them what we knew, which kind of matched what they had heard. The language is very, to use their words, the language is very awkward. It doesn't make sense to them. They're not really sure what they're going to do. They have their next board meeting March 19th. It doesn't affect our laws, but I would suggest that you guys take a watch position just in case language changes between now and the next board meeting and the hearing, and see if there's anything that could impact us. It may end up not, but it could.
Okay. Do you have any comments, discussion from the board? Fredo?
Rick, do you think it makes sense to oppose till amended just to clarify that so that we're not in a situation where we're not sure that this affects us or not?
If there was some formal indication in this bill that it was targeting our operations or our licensees, yes. But since it really doesn't say that, and it doesn't affect our language, it's more, the burden is more on CSLB at this point. than us. So that's why we went with a watch.
Have we talked to the CSLB about it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
had a discussion with them about it. Their legislative director and their senior registrar, which is their executive officer. And they, like I said, they were a little confused and a little awkward. They're like, why are they, it doesn't make sense, the language.
Okay.
They're trying to figure it out themselves.
Well, I think your comment about this being a retaliation of some sort is probably spot on, and this is wanting to protect their own from unlicensed charges of unlicensed survey work is what it seems like to me. When we oppose unless amended, do we have to offer modified language that we would be looking for?
Yes, that's the expectation. And I don't know what we would, I'm thinking out loud here, but we could do oppose unless amended and offer exactly the language that was in AB 1341 last year.
That's true.
So it's something to think about. But
I move that we oppose unless amended.
And what should our letter say?
Can you read with the language from AB?
Actually, I can.
Was it 1341?
Yep. Give me a second to bring it up.
And just be mindful, and it's probably a good thing. Nobody has seconded that motion yet. So,
yeah.
While I try to find out, you can ask for public comment or ask for any other questions too.
Okay. Do I have a second or more comments or discussion from the board?
Second.
I got a second from Phil. Is there any further discussion or comments from the board while we wait for Rick? I will open this up for the public in the room for public comment.
Hi, my name is William Estepa. I work with SOMAS. I'm here on behalf of ACEC. So our position, or ACC position, is to oppose this bill. I agree with what you're saying, Michael, and what you're saying, Rick. This is like a little summary of some of the reasons why. So by creating this carve out, the bill risks weakening the enforcement of existing building laws and blurring the line between construction activities and professional engineering, surveying, and design work, potentially exposing engineering and land surveying firms to greater liability and understanding established scope of practice protections. So yeah, if you were to recommend, like you're saying, the language of AB 1341, that would be our position. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Please come on up.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't know what the acronym that he said that he was representing stood for.
American Council of Engineering Companies, ACEC.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Chairman Martinez, members of the board, Rob Carey on with the Operating Engineers Local 3, Director of Safety and Special Rep to the Business Manager. Based on what the gentleman said prior, it's pretty much spot on. So with the language that is being proposed, basically states that a licensee who engages in the use of technologies, tools, and equipment in the course of performing construction work pursuant to this chapter shall not be subject to a cause for disciplinary action against themselves. Basically, it's opening up the surveying industry for anyone, basically, that has some form of a license to perform surveying without being disciplined. And speaking with the party that proposed this language means exactly that. So it's very, very, very problematic. And from the operating engineers, we would also recommend to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public in the room that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, moderator, can you please open up WebEx for public comment?
Do you want the information before you?
Let's do that first.
Oh, Do you want to do that first?
Let's do that first.
So first, I'm going to start with what's in our meeting material. So on the bottom of page 65, the current bill, if you notice, it affects section 7110 of the Business Professions Codes. That's a section under CSLB's regulation. And if you go on to the next page, 66, you can see it goes all the way down to paragraph 8, any state or local law. So last year, 1341, AB 1341, proposed to add under that paragraph 8, as used in this section, building laws of the state includes without limitation all of the following. Paragraph 1, section 5536, subdivision C of section 5536.1 and section 5536.4, which is another board's statute. That's architects. Paragraph 2, section 5640, and I think that's structural pest control. Paragraph 3, section 6787, so that's the PE Act. So basically, any willful disregard of laws or violations of these laws. Paragraph 4, section 7872, which is our Geologists and Geophysicists Act. And paragraph 5, section 8792, which is our Land Surveyors Act. Willful or disregard, deliberate disregard and violation of the building laws of the state of any of the following references, or causes or constitute a cause for disciplinary action against the licensee. So the licensee being a licensed contractor.
So question, Rick, what I'm seeing on page 66 is item 8. Well, it's renumbered 8. I guess it was H.
Yeah.
And the addition of section B, which is technically not really, it follows 8, but it's not under.
No, they renumbered 1 through 8 under an A. If you look at the bottom of page 65, line 3, they added an A there.
Right. So B is a new section.
B is a new section.
Okay. So what our opposed unless amended offer would be, as far as language, is to
replace their proposed B with the proposed B language from last year's bill.
What was it?
That affected our laws. So only those 3 references.
And so this B here is sort of off by itself, its own section. What we're proposing is to put something under 8.
We could work out the best way to do that.
Okay.
But would you want it to be in lieu of what's proposed?
In lieu of remove what they're proposing
and add this.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make that clear.
When we add it, though, it needs to be added in the right way, whether it's a standalone section or if it's under 8. And you.
Yeah.
No.
We'll figure that out if that's what you want to do.
Okay. Moderator, can you please open up? Oh, Frank, go first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just have a quick clarification question regarding the new language that we adding. And the question is actually directed at the previous speakers who made comments both from the operating engineer and ACEC. Given the language, do you still stand in your comments, or do you have any additional comments that you take exception with respect to the language?
Dallas is probably talking to him, so he didn't even hear anything you said.
No, I'm in agreement with if we're moving forward with 1341, similar language. I think that our position for ACC would be in recommendations to that.
Okay, great. That's what I want to hear. And I'm assuming the same thing from the operating engineers?
Well, probably at this time, I can't comment unless I give the authority to do so, but I was just informed that the bill is temporarily on hold.
Okay.
So, yeah, that it still has to, bear with me just for 1 second, that
new development.
It'll be active basically in the eyes of the public until it gets passed through the policy committee deadline. Right. So basically it's not going to, it won't move.
It won't move this year is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see that anything on ledge info. He's probably got later information that I know. So what I would suggest you do is go ahead and proceed with what you have and let us monitor it. Thank you for that information, Ron. Appreciate it. And we'll verify that with the author's office. It may be wise to even still submit our concerns to the author. It's the second year of a legislative cycle. They may be wanting to do what the first year. It's a little bit better strategy, just in case.
Yeah, I concur. I think it will be prudent for us to take the position and make our concerns known. Sometimes once it goes into a dead policy file, I mean, typically it dies, but you never know. So it can resurrect. So just in case, we go on record with our concerns and our proposed language. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Selena, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rubino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two are somewhat related. They're both Senate bills related to AI. The first one you have is SB 1011. This one is pretty long and involved, so I will try to shorten it. It's related to the PUC and its jurisdiction over public utilities, electrical corporations, gas corps, and then publicly owned utilities, gas utilities under different governing boards. There's current law that oversees the implementation of certain programs. Under existing law, violation of order, decision, rule, direction, demand, or requirement of the PUC is a crime. A good portion of this really isn't related to our laws or our operations, but we did bring it to your attention that it's essentially an effort by this bill is to amend the Public Utilities Code, discussing under the Utility Infrastructure AI Safety, Oversight, and Workforce Protection Act, is to find that licensed engineers, again, so this is where it brings our folks into it, possess professional judgment essential to safe utility operations, and that automated decision systems should complement, not replace that judgment. This is one of, I'm sure, a number of bills that are going to come out that are basically making sure that there's human judgment and oversight over AI. So this bill adds the definition of an engineering decision as a decision, recommendation, or configuration change affecting the design, operation, maintenance, or configuration of electrical circuits, substations, gas pipelines, compressor stations, or other utility infrastructure that is subject to review by or is required to be performed by a person licensed under the Professional Engineers Act. Essentially, we reviewed it, found the definition to be generally in line with a common understanding of what that engineering decision entails. So our recommendation at this time was to take a watch position.
Thank you.
And again, it does not amend or affect our statutes, regulations, or otherwise our board operations.
So is that applicable to Senator Cabaldon's bill, or you said they're both connected?
Well, they're just related that they're both bills that involve AI and human involvement.
So how, because it's such a new technology, AI, how are we going to foresee the results of what you just say? I mean, I'm a little like dumbfounded right now. I don't know which direction to go because it's a new technology and we're all learning about it every day. I don't really see the impact. I think it's a benefit. I'm going to see it take over a lot of things that we do, repetitively in the world. So it sounds like, shouldn't we just hold off and wait and see where it takes us?
You mean related to this bill specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it really has any impact for our board and its operations, but we say watch, again, I think because Rick explained that it's not specific related to our authority statute. It basically, it sort of augments their already existing code to discuss what an engineering decision is in order to add to what the professional judgment by a licensee is. And since we found it to be generally in line with what we don't define an engineering decision, they do, but we found it in line with that. I think the bill's overall effort is to just ensure that there's human oversight of the AI automated decisions systems that are beginning to pick up speed in general for various technologies, mapping, engineering, that there's a human oversight and judgment superseding the use of those systems. So I think like anything that will come along, we're definitely going to keep a watch on it. But that's where our recommendation is.
So that's where I'm confused, is the human oversight.
So Phil, if I may,
Sure.
And this is not just engineers, surveyors, whatever. It's a lot of industries right now. They're seeing the pros and cons of this kind of technology, so to speak. It's being discussed nationally at NCES quite a bit about how AI is going to help and hinder the work of an engineer and surveyor. I would imagine, I know the ASBOG is doing the same thing. They're all discussing this. I think one of the big things here to recognize is that there are other industries, public utilities are kind of peripheral, so they make use of our licensees' expertise. They recognize that even though this could be a benefit, there is validity to relying upon the licensee's expertise in making a final decision. It's just another tool. AI could be considered as a tool in that other bill when it says technology, tools, and equipment. It can mean anything, even AI. So it's recognition that the expertise that our licensees have demonstrated and the competence they demonstrated should still be, in one respect, the final decision being made, not let the tool make the decision for you. And I think that's important. And we watch these other codes outside of our laws because we want to make sure that they don't unintentionally write something that contradicts our practice definitions or conflicts with them. So I think it's very important for us to watch this because it's going to become more prevalent as these years go by.
Right. And in agreement, I mean, it's human judgment, right? But professional judgment.
It's professional judgment.
And we just don't want to see the profession give way to AI.
Well, and I think this one being a public utilities, there's a lot of controls put in place. There's a lot of automated controls. Right. We license control system engineers. We license mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. We may start seeing it a lot right there because those are activities and operations that can be automated, they've already been automated. They can be automated even more to as those computer systems develop and AI develops and it develops the intelligence. It's only going to develop the proper intelligence from the proper people putting that intelligence in. So it's not doing it on its own. So I think it's very important that this could hit, especially with public utilities, which is very, very much about protection of the public. What happens if a fire happens and a transformer blows up? You know, there's all kinds of things that could happen.
Thank you, Jim.
Betsy and then Berman.
That's an excellent explanation, Rick. Regarding the wording related to the definition of an engineering decision on page 68 under staff comment, and I know it's a quote from the bill itself, I'm leery about its attempt to present an exhaustive list of factors that engineers need to be involved with. For example, a decision affecting the design, operation, maintenance, or configuration of electrical circuits, substations, gas pipelines, compressor stations, or other utility infrastructure. It doesn't mention siting of any of these facilities, and it doesn't mention construction. It just has design, operation, maintenance, or configuration. And with what engineering geologists do, I often use the sequence of siting and then input to design and construction and repair, for example, with landslides. So I think there are a lot of other activities that should be in this list if they really are going to make a list that they are trying to make exhaustive.
Secretary, gonna response?
Well, I was going to suggest a couple things. The board could take a watch position and direct staff to communicate to the author's office, possibly a better way to word that. You could also just make a decision on what you want the wording to do and tell us. We also could make it as simple as I'm trying to find it in the actual language. So let me go back to the staff comment. That's easier. It's we can make it that automated decisions should complement, not replace. The bill would add a definition of engineering decision as a somewhere in there we could say could include but not limited to, and make it as simple as that. It probably would be accepted a little bit easier if we did something like that.
I like that. And I'm also wondering about the absence of the word licensed geologist.
We could suggest that too if you as a board think we should do that. I think obviously they're focused on an engineer. But if you think we need to do that, then tell us that and give us a little bit of rationale that we can pass along when we communicate with them. We'd be fine with that. Because of the support that the engineer needs in its design, they would rely upon information provided by professional geologists and appropriate siting and construction.
Rather than geologists supporting engineers, it's more parallel work or sequential work, particularly with siting a facility. A geologist should be first to characterize the site conditions, and if there are constraints identified, then engineers can address whether the constraints can be mitigated or whether they should go find a different site.
So I think it's important to note that this is adding a portion of the PUC to already existing law that is specifically related only to professional engineers. So, or licensed engineers, sorry, it says licensed, not professional engineer. So that's existing law. So what we would essentially be asking to do is to go elsewhere under the code sections affected. If you're going to add anything else, this specific addition is to augment the code that already exists related to licensed engineers. It's not to say we can't suggest doing that, but just keep in mind we'd have to go. We wouldn't be able to necessarily just amend this part, that we would need to go back to the PUC to look at other sections to otherwise address geology as well. So I believe, I think that would be the way we would need to also do that. So, and you can certainly direct us to look more into doing.
Well, thank you for that clarification. It sounds like a major project to me. So at this point, I like suggesting Rick's wording that I forget now.
Yes.
Can I jump in here? I think right now, and maybe I missed what our.
There's no motion on the floor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Is maybe I missed.
Ask for one.
Go ahead, Nasser.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I would like to make a motion for a watch position on SB 1011. And we'll go from there.
Okay, I have a motion from Desiree. Do I have a second? Second from Hermine. Okay, Mike, you have a comment?
I think this is the appropriate way to do it.
I think the appropriate way is to ask for a friendly amendment to the motion to include a message to the author that we would like the proposed language to be more inclusive of, I'm not sure how to word it, just be more inclusive.
So outside of corporate world, friendly amendments really don't exist.
Okay.
In that way. So we can do oppose unless amended, which I don't think you want to do that. I don't think that's the direction you're going. We could do support if amended, which you may want to consider, but that means if they amend it, then the legislature will consider it a support position automatically without you taking another position. Or it could just be a watch and direct staff to.
That's what I was trying to do, was to. Yeah.
So that would be. So who made the motion?
Desiree made the motion.
Desiree. So you would have to consider whether you want the motion. It's a friendly amendment from Mike. If you want to change the motion to direct, take a position of watch as of this date and direct staff to work with the author's office to try to modify the language a little bit.
I'd like to continue my motion to watch SB 1011. I'd like to ask staff to work with the author's office on amendments where we can reasonably see them, but I'd like to encourage a watch position at this time.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion or questions from the board? One from Cliff. Yes.
I'd just like to ask staff, is this something you're into and important for this organization? Because I know staff works for the board, but I don't want to be the person who puts, taking the staff, doing stuff they don't think is important and is extraneous to the goals of the board.
Well, the correct answer is whatever you think is important for the staff.
Testing
compliments today.
Important because we brought it to you. If we didn't think this really was anything, we would have just watched it and not brought it to your attention. But because of the advent of the AI technology, and we're going to see this more, we think it is important to address. And earlier rather than later, because as these things are starting to happen, I think it would be important for us to communicate to them how we think the law, the reference to our licensees should read so that it's consistent. And so, yeah, we have no problem doing that communication.
Okay, good.
All right. Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, the floor is not open for the public for public comment. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Lena would like a clarification of exactly what the motion is.
The exact motion is to take a watch position on SP 1011 and contact the author's office to see if there's any need to have language regarding professional geologists included in.
I don't think that's right about the geologists.
Wasn't that what Betsy was getting at? What was trying to include what you were getting at, Betsy? And my official motion is to take a watch position, because if we provide a letter in support with any of our clauses, we've then provided a letter in support with whatever they end up doing in the end. So I really recommend we just simply take a watch position at this time. That's my motion.
Motion is for a watch position.
Period.
Right.
So who did the second?
That was.
I did the second.
So are you?
My understanding was that it was a watch position, which I agree completely with what you said. And that there was direction to the staff to then work with the author's office to smooth out the language regarding the engineers. Not I thought Betsy had dropped her
okay.
Suggestion to include geologists. So my understanding of my second was that the motion was watch, direction to the staff to work with the author's office to, work on that engineering language, the definition.
So let me try something here. So what I think I'm hearing is that the board wants to take a watch position on SB 1011 as introduced on February 10th, 2026, and direct staff to communicate any changes to the proposed language about the engineering decision-making that makes the most sense and consistency with our laws, while at the same time suggesting that you consider adding additional language referencing the practice of geology and a licensed geologist.
No.
That's
no.
Okay.
That was my shot.
That last.
Everything you said until you started talking about geologists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so here's that. I just recommend we simply take a watch position.
Okay, we're changing it. So for me, are you okay with that? Because since you seconded.
Yes, I second.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to take a watch position. That's it. All right. I think we're ready for the roll call or vote.
I think you need to ask for all public comment and all that since we've changed this.
So we'll open the floor again for public comment. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public
Thank
comment?
you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you. And this is the moderator. It looks like the room might be muted. You might need to unmute the microphone.
Start over.
Okay. President Martinez?
Yes.
Vice President Rufino?
Yes.
Dr. Amistad?
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
No.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
That was easy.
You got this, Rick. One more.
Hopefully there is some kind of thing we could type in how we should word this.
Like, you know? Yeah. Maybe some AI would have been helpful.
All right. The next one, SB 1248, another Senate bill related to automated decision systems. This one is related to, generally speaking, Department of Technology, also known as DOT. Sorry, my hands wave all over the place. So this one's discussing automated decision systems. For many things, essentially where this relates to our board and under the Department of Consumer Affairs is the use of automated decision systems, AI, for the licensure process. The bill would include prohibiting an output from the system as a sole basis for adverse service determination. It requires state agencies to verify the accuracy of system output, promote non-discrimination in its use. Requires director or designee of a state agency to provide for quality control review of the outputs to assure acceptable accuracy. Essentially, this is, again, it's making sure that there's proper oversight of the use of AI, in particular during the licensure process. I'm going to probably suggest that it relates to the appropriate human oversight of examination developments and other systems used to license individuals. It doesn't affect any of our statutes. Specifically, it adds sections to the government code. So it's a broader addition to the government code related to all state agencies, including Department of Consumer Affairs. The board staff recommends taking a watch position as introduced.
I just want to make a note here on top of page 80.
Yeah, so, yeah.
We have a watch position on SB 1278. That should be 1248. It's a typo. We would have used AI to produce this document. I probably would have caught that.
Or not.
Or not. Actually, we used AI to do this document.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions for? Oh, there it is, Phil.
So back to my original issue with the blurriness of this bill. I know the senator who wrote this, I'm not even sure if he had an AI expert provide any suggestions or professional recommendations on how to write it. But it seems to be very non-specific in many terms. I mean, I'm not a computer or software engineer, but anyone from the public would want to develop the AI to improve the efficiency of government. This one says restrictions. They're imposing restrictions, or i.e. regulations. So that is where I'm a little confused. Is the bill here regulating AI in many aspects? Because I don't quite see where it's headed. As you know, the evolving nature of technology keeps changing. This bill would probably be obsolete in a year or two because they'll be changing AI. So I don't know. What is our feel on this, Rick?
Well, I'm going to refer to the last paragraph that Tiffany put into this analysis on page 79. So GovOps is kind of a separate agency under the governor's office. This bill is supposed to authorize GovOps to develop, adopt, and make publicly available guidance for all state agencies to use when they're incorporating automated decision systems, AI, so to speak. So they're the ones going to have to develop this guidance that's going to proliferate or disseminate down through all the state agencies eventually. The bill will require them to notify the budget committee before issuing the guidance and provide technical assistance to all the state agencies that need to follow that guidance. So all this is really doing is putting a responsibility on GovOps to develop a consistent approach in the use of these systems. That's already somewhat being done, I think, where DCA has guided us to some respect, and I'm sure it's something that is fluid in nature, as you were saying. There are systems available. If anyone uses, my understanding, if anyone uses AI at our board, it's the use of AI internally within our system. It's not on the World Wide Web. So there are some protocols already put in place by DCA with this. I would imagine that's come down from agency and come down from above to agency. So I think it's a way to try to standardize the guidance across all state agencies. The responsibility is not put on us. We're bringing this to your attention because it specifically does affect us and making sure that we follow appropriate guidance in doing our jobs to license people. Does that help?
Okay, that's a lot more clear. Thank you.
Wilfredo, Mike, and then Christina.
Yeah, I think an example of what this is trying to avoid is having our team say like, here's an agent, go decide who needs enforcement action. And then whatever decisions it makes, we'll just say like, cool, stamp, go. And there's problems with that. And so I am a software engineer. I do think that having regulation and restrictions on how we can make decisions of what gets done based on just the output of AI is actually very important.
Mike?
So one of the things that this bill does to me is define some really important things, like artificial intelligence means the following, automated decision means the following. It seems like those definitions are new and that unvetted. This is more just a comment that that I thought about when Rick was saying was talking about the GovOps being a different bureau underneath the governor's office, and anyway, it seems important that there's definitions being there's words being and phrases being defined here that could be problematic too, and I think we should watch that.
Well, it's a good point. So this is establishing a statute. So think of our acts, establishing statute, the authority given to GovOps by the legislature, and then requesting that they establish guidance, probably in the form of regulations, to implement that. And it has to be vetted at least through the joint budget committee on that before issuing that guidance. So you're right. This is given authority, and you'll usually see those things in statute. But then how they're going to implement that, how they're going to address that, that's what they have to develop. And it may end up making revisions back to the statute once they start getting into it. But that's a good point, Mike.
So I want to really support the intent of this bill. So even in my line of work, AI is in, and I love the fact that, when they generate, the product, then I have to final approve it, because regardless, it's my responsibility, because it's my signature, even though it's, AI, provided, the product. So, I think that the importance of putting this in place, that AI is not going to replace the decision, by, the professional. It is so important. So, language probably in the next board meeting, we will really look into, a lot of, changes and stuff. But I just want to really express the support that is so, so important to put that in place.
Yes, Betsy.
I wanted to comment on some terminology. This might be technical language that's common in other professions. But in 2 places in the bill, the term acceptable accuracy appears, and it's in the bill summary also. Provide for quality control review of the AI outputs as specified to assure acceptable accuracy. I would like accuracy. And acceptable accuracy might be like with a medical test, number of false positives, it's acceptable. But does acceptable have to be in this term for this purpose? I would like the results to be accurate, and the human review confirm that.
Is there any? No?
Or maybe reasonable would be a better term than I don't know. I'm not a grammatical perfect person. Anybody want to comment?
Betsy wants 100% accurate.
I think that maybe you're a little optimistic there, and whether it's a person or a machine deciding a thing or computing a thing, the result needs to be accurate within a certain acceptable range, and it's never perfect, right? So I don't think that the word is problematic in that context.
Thank you. Rick?
I was just going to say, as a land surveyor, I always find it interesting how geologists look at their crystal ball to see what's thousands of feet under the world and tell us what's within certain accuracy. So I totally agree with what Wilfredo said. It's every accuracy determination is usually issued within some kind of specified tolerance, which is another way of saying acceptable. So
Okay, well, then we could get into the decision between precision and accuracy. I think
there's at least 3 or 4 surveyors in the room here, which means about 10 or 12 different opinions. So you do not want to go there.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Yep, Christina.
So question for Rick. Now this is probably a long time, before it hit the DCA and, and us, right? So, but it's coming. Once the technology is coming, what will be the impact to the licensing boards?
I'm definitely thinking out loud here. Definitely processes that are redundant will be more streamlined, more efficient. But at the same time, we would need to establish probably different protocols and adjust our protocols for quality checking that and making sure, rather than just haphazardly relying upon it, ensuring that it's acceptable. And I totally agree with that. We already use AI to some extent in our office in a couple different ways. DCA has given us, all of us, the authority to use certain constrained within our system. So it's not outside to the world. There is all forms of exam development all over the world. AI is being incorporated into these things. Not to develop the exams, but to make the development of the exams more efficient. One of the most difficult, just a good example, one of the most difficult things to do is write a question from scratch. In some ways, it's more difficult to actually write a really good question for an exam than it is to actually take the exam. So that's a lot of times the genesis of a question can take 3 hours to come up with a good question that still has to be vetted. This could cut because they have to think about it and they have to, what kind of concept do I need to do within the test plan specifications? How could I make this realistic? Things like that. If there's an AI built into the exam development, trained within the protected environment of exam development. And it has our test plan specifications already in there, plus our item banks already in there. We could use it to say, okay, what area of the specifications do not have enough questions? And it could quickly tell us, okay, we need you experts to work on this areas. Okay, I need to write a question that's on this concept. It can look at what's already in the bank. It can look at the test plan specifications and the reference material that we would load into that and say, here's a sample question with 4 multiple choice answers. This would be the correct answer. Then it jump starts them and they're going, okay, now I can modify that and make it a better question before it starts being vetted by other experts and the psychometrician. So it actually would help with those processes. Just things like that, reporting. We could utilize the AI to help with reporting. So those are some examples.
Mike?
I move that we take a watch position on Senate Bill 1248 as introduced on February 19th, 2026.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Mike, second from Christina. Do I have any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, the floor is not open for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Stina, can you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Try to do rulemaking before we take lunch.
I was about to ask you if you.
I know we have people in the audience, so I think they would probably appreciate it if we
Okay,
tried.
let's take care of that and then we'll go to lunch.
Okay. Begin on page 89. This is rulemaking status report. First of all, the fees are moving through just as we're hoping. And that we are anticipating that those will actually be approved sometime around April 1st in time for us to get it on our renewal notices for the people for July 1st to set the new fees effective July 1st. That's the plan. Everything seems to be going well. So we're hoping it moves forward with that. I'd also like to take the opportunity to introduce our rulemaking legal counsel from DCA, DP Miller. So she has offered unparalleled advice to our staff, especially me. Any questions on that first one? If not, the number 2 is a section 100 change that we've discussed before. We've actually identified several others. Our staff, primarily Angela and DP, have identified several other section 100s that you have previously authorized us to do. So we're trying to take care of those. The good thing about a section 100 case is that we don't have to serve notice in the same way we would with the others. So once it's approved, it will streamline through that process. So we're working on those, and we're excited about trying to get some of these off our slate. And then the one definition of negligence and competence, that'll be the next in line, along with the number 4 and 5.
Okay.
That's the update on those.
Is there any comments, questions from the board? The floor is now open for public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no comments. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move forward to item 8B. So I want to first direct you to page 91, which is the letter that the board received regarding this with this request. This is a request to revise our current board rules, which means the ones for the engineers and surveyors and the ones for the geologists and geophysicists, to accommodate gender neutral language. We thought this was a very good request. It's an important request, and we don't have a concern with it from that point of view whatsoever. However, there are different ways to approach this. One of the concerns is our current workload with rulemaking and priorities. We're concerned that we don't want this to take priority over some of the other rulemaking that's already there, nor do we want to consider this lesser of a priority than it really should be. The other thing is just the workload to open up a lot of language that could be subject to justification in today's world. Some of this language maybe have been around a while. It's not just a copy and paste or a cut and paste. We would to be, but that we have to go through a legal process and legal protocol with that. We are not sure yet if this could go through a section 100 due to the volume of the change and the complexity of the change. We're looking at various different options with that, and we're not really sure yet what would be the best approach. One thing we did notice, and I did include that language near the bottom of page 90, this is an existing section in the geologists and geophysicists regulations. It's been there for many, many years. We would suggest that one thing the board could consider, or that one thing we could consider ourselves if the board deems this moving forward, is that we could modify this to more modernize it, but we could also add it into the engineers and surveyors regs in lieu of making the changes throughout the entire document. One thing I want to point out, and you see this in legislation, anytime legislation is introduced, it has to go through Leg Council. Leg Council will immediately interject those changes into every legislative bill. Anytime we make some suggestions to legislation, we will interject that in. There's statute kind of requiring this already. Anytime we introduce language for regulations, we being any board or bureau, we already have to take this into account at that time for the language that we want to do. Case in point is registered civil engineer, registered professional engineer versus licensed engineer. Anytime we get a chance to change registered to licensed, we do. We just don't go through and change it across all the statutes. So there's various different ways to approach this appropriately. That's something that we could still look at regardless of your decision today, unless you say, no, don't do this, of course. So I just kind of want to give you a little bit of background there. I know you're going to receive some public comment on this for you guys to consider in your discussions. I will say that the motion that we would suggest would, if the board decides to do something, well, I'm going to let the board have discussions and listen to public comment. If you decide to do something, then I do have a suggested motion if you decide to do something.
Is there any discussion from the board? Desiree?
So I'm curious that section 3002 sounds like a kind of a generic suggestion you might have to put in there. You mentioned workload for the staff. How much work would that be if we were to suggest something like that?
To good question. Modernize this and create a similar section, or to make all the changes?
No, I'm sorry, just to make a simple
change like this?
Yeah, change like
it would be
for the PE Act as well.
It would probably end up being the same justification, but it would be simpler in terms of the language and the document that we would have to go through. I mean, the language is not complex regardless. It just may be easier than us opening up all of our regs at one time.
No, agreed. I would not propose opening up all the rigs at one time. I'd like to come up with a simple, effective way to address the concerns. So I'm not sure if this is an avenue to do it or if we should just propose as regulations get opened up for various reasons, we then address it at that time. It's kind of where my head's at. I'm not sure.
Christina?
So I support to modernize language, and I also understand how the workload might impact the staff. So if we would decide to pursue or maybe adding a section to the engineer and land surveyor regulations, I would like to make a recommendation, about the 3002 census gender and number. The second line about the masculine gender includes the feminine and the feminine, the masculine, actually to add the masculine gender includes the feminine and gender neutral, and the feminine, the masculine and gender neutral. So, I mean, otherwise, because, that's exactly the problem about the polarized, about the gender neutral.
I'd probably say that we would probably get rid of those terms.
Yes.
And probably use more modern terms.
Perfect.
We probably wouldn't be allowed to use these terms today. Not to mention it was kind of alphabet soup listening to you there talking about it. So I think I wouldn't worry so much about the way the language is read at this point. It's really about the concept. Do you want us to address this? If you want us to address this, then we could come back to you. We will have to come back to you with, here's our suggestion for how to proceed based on all of our options. These are the best options for you to consider. And this would be the language we'd recommend under those options.
Thank you. So I think that's much clearer, because in my mind, when I was reading that, that you were thinking that here's the recommendation, just to use this, to kind of cut and paste and make it, because you're talking about workload, right? So thinking about shortcut. So I'm glad we are looking, the possibility to, to modernize those language. But, regardless, I think it's important to, to just really address the issue about the gender neutral. So
it's a good idea. It really is.
So thank you.
So I'm all in favor of modernizing the language, but you said that you had a suggestion. Is that the suggestion, that you would come back to us and tell us how you would tackle this, or are you ready to provide that suggestion today, right now?
What we're asking you to do today is to tell us whether or not you want us to move forward with this effort. If you do, then we will come back to you with suggestions. I do have a recommended motion should you want to do this. A recommended language for the motion for you to do.
Sounds like we want.
Do you want to hear that?
Yeah, we want to hear that. Yes. Come on.
Thank you.
Come on.
So the motion would be to direct board staff to prepare regulatory options to achieve gender neutral language in existing regulations and present the board for review and consideration.
I would like to make the motion that you just read.
Motion from Rosanna. Is there a second? Second from Christina. Yeah. Motion from Rosanna, second from Christina.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have any further discussion from the board? See none. The floor is not open for public comment. Is there anybody in the room who would like to make a comment? Yes.
All right, good morning. Is it still morning? It is. Good morning, President Martinez, Vice President Rufino, Executive Officer Moore, and members of the board. My name is Christine Micah, and I'm the Executive Director of the Structural Engineers Association of California, who wrote the letter to the board today. Thank you for placing this item on the agenda and for the opportunity to comment. We've reviewed the staff report and appreciate the thoughtful analysis, and we understand the concerns raised by the rulemaking process and trust that if the board chooses to move forward, which it sounds like you may, Regulatory Council will identify the most appropriate path to get there. We are here today to ask the board take the first step and vote to proceed with this effort. And we look forward to working with staff and the board to explore the best path forward together. CEOC made this request because the language of our governing regulations signals who belongs in this profession. Gendered pronouns are not a neutral choice. They potentially exclude engineers and geoscientists who do not use those pronouns. At a moment when gender non-conforming professionals are facing increasing legal pressures across the country, California's licensing framework has the opportunity to lead with inclusion. We're grateful for the board's consideration and hopeful for their support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name or pressing *3 if you've called in. We are displaying instructions, and I do see we have a raised hand from Gwen. So Gwen, you should see a prompt to unmute. Go ahead and click on that.
My name's Gwen. I'm a licensed civil and structural engineer in California. I've been doing this for 31 years. There are more than 100 instances of gendered language in the board rules and regulations just for the engineers. Sometimes it's he or she, sometimes it's his/her, sometimes it's he/she, sometimes it's his or her, sometimes it's him/her, and in one location it's just his. There's no need for this complexity or this purported simplicity. There are more than two genders in our society, and the existing language is both flawed and sexist. More than 50 years ago, Californians voted to strip gendered terms from our Constitution. In 2018, the legislature adopted Resolution ACR 260, which recommended gender-inclusive language in both laws and policies. And in 2021, the legislature passed Senate Bill 270 to replace gendered language in various code sections. It's the responsibility of the California Board for Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists to remove gendered language from the board rules and regulations. I urge you to replace gendered pronouns with they, their, and them. Alternately, you can substitute words such as licensee, applicant, or engineer. These changes have no regulatory effect, yet they make the rules and regulations more inclusive for Californians. As a transgender person myself, I assure you that you govern engineers who do not always fit within binary gender identities, and you help protect citizens of California who do not always fit within binary gender identities. For all these reasons, I urge you to remove gendered language from the board rules and regulations. Now, I know it's been proposed to do this on a piecemeal basis. That would mean basically whenever you touch some of the language, you change it at that point. But that's an effort in futility because it means that you probably will never get all the gendered language out. There are certain rules that you maybe never have to touch. So I'm asking you to do it all at once, get it over with, and thank you for your time and consideration. That's it.
Are there any other comments on WebEx?
No, there are not, so I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. I think we're ready for a vote. Selena, please.
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong. Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. I think we're now going to break for lunch. I think you return at 1:30. Are you okay with that?
Oh my God.
Okay. 1:30 less? Yeah. Okay, 1:30. Okay, we're back in session. And we are moving on to item number 9, Executive Officers Report.
We got the recording going? We're good, Caesar?
Yes, we are good to go. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Executive officer report. So I'll start with personnel. There's no vacancies yet. At the board, which brings me to my next item on personnel. we want to celebrate Selena today, being her last board meeting. We did a little bit of research. It's probably going, oh my God. She has overseen, or pretty much, we think she's only missed 2 board meetings in her entire time. Wow. So she has been involved with 101 board meetings. Wow. Where she, throughout her entire time, took care of 65 different board members. Herding cats. Yes. And so she's been doing this for a long time, probably longer than the other person. So I can tell you that for those of you that knew Nancy, a lot of people helped me do my job, including many of you. Nancy, I was just afraid I was going to get hit. Tiffany was always in the background telling me where I was wrong. But Selena actually made it look like I was a lot more organized and efficient than I really was. So I just want to thank you. I really miss working with you on this. So staff got her a cake in the back. Keep you guys awake this afternoon.
I'll display it and then I'll just set it out and we can serve later, but I'll just take the chance now.
If there's anything any of you want to say, we just want to recognize Selena, what she's done for all of us here.
I'll say a few. Selena, I just want to thank you for everything. I've been on the board going 3 to 4 years now, and since I came on here, you onboarded me through all the paperwork. You've been amazing to work with. You make sure I got home, I got here. You have been a pleasure to work with, and thank you so much for everything, and congrats on your retirement.
Since we had, I just wanted to add to the president's remarks. I mean, I concur with every single one of them. But the thing that I appreciated the most about you, Selena, is that you were on top. You were on top of your game, and especially for me, I was in a unique situation, with my paperwork because I worked for the state, so I had multiple other accounts, so we had to do it the old-fashioned way, like my travel expense claims, and which they get delayed. Or I even called and said, "Oh, Selena, she goes, oh, I already got it. I already called. I'm on top." You were on top of it, and you did it also in such a professional way. You did not make me feel, because I felt bad, like, am I imposing? Here it is. Another board member calling with. She never made me feel uncomfortable or like you're imposing or you're something. I mean, you did it in a very professional way, in a very gentle way. You take care of us, and I truly want to say thank you. I want to say congratulations. We're gonna miss you, and wish you nothing but the best in your next journey of life.
Yeah. Is it open for comments?
It's open for comments.
Okay. I'll go next. So I've already said a little bit to her personally, but I told her that I thought it was like herding puppies, and I wanted to thank her for being so taking care of me, because I think I'm very high maintenance. And she said that you guys are worse than me. So I just wanted to share that publicly. But in my other life, I actually have to make all my travel arrangements. And so I know how complicated it can get, especially in this day and age. And you do it for all of us. And so I just can imagine exponentially how hard that is. You do take care of us. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. And truly, I'm going to miss you. You're like the smiles that greet us every single time we come here. So thank you, Selena, and just know that you'll be missed. Thank you very much.
So I go next.
Yeah.
Get out of my way. So what I'm gonna, first of all, I concur with all the board members, what they say, but I want to share a little tidbit. is that I'm going to miss sending you email in the middle of the night and then opening up email and knowing that Selena will respond first thing in the morning. True, right? Yes. And so it's really great. I just make a little request of change and I know that by the time I wake up in the morning, I open my email, Selena will be there. So I'm going to miss that a lot. Oh, and what board member said too. And but but I also want to know that I hope I'm not one of the worst board members. You have to go after me for stuff.
Okay, thank you, Selena, for all your hard work and yeah, that's me. No. I might be one of the veterans here with Betsy, the old timers, but when I first came on the board, I was very impressed. Rick impressed me, and you were just the one that tied it all together because I've never served on a state board, and I served on a county commission, but never a state board. We did have somebody similar to you on the county level, but you just made all the difference in the world because I saw how professional you were, how efficient you were, how you got my travel arrangements and everything. Go, wow, this is a 5-star outfit run by a 5-star director, executive officer, I mean. So I was very impressed. And I think you have big shoes to fill. I know your successor will be emulating your very actions and hopefully, it's going to be a tough transition, but I think you're going to enjoy your retirement. Unfortunately, the way I see her, she's a little too young to be retiring. Don't you think so, guys? HR. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, those are my 2 cents worth.
Selena, thank you so much for always laughing at my jokes, for not making me feel like I'm stupid, and the ECA way is kind of a interesting, unique path. We have stuff we need to do for our board here, and then the DCA says we need to do. It's a really complicated onboarding process, and you made it smooth, and you kind of made me feel like it was, I was the only person on the board. You were so attentive, and we were so simpatico. So, I'm sure it's true with everybody else as well. Thank you, Selena.
I'll also say thank you, and not just for making travel arrangements and everything that you did so very well, but also for not yelling at me when I had to ask you for the 14th time, whatever that thing was. Because if it was my wife, she would remind me that I had asked her 13 other times. Anyway, thank you.
I want to second Rosanna's comment about feeling as if we'd imposed on you, and you assure each of us individually, oh no, everyone else is worse than you are. So I've been on the board for 11 years, and I know I'm spoiled to have had you here from the beginning till now. I just feel like I take you for granted, and you are going to be a hard act for Ligera to follow. We're very glad to meet you and know you've been in the background. And Selena, we all will miss you, but I came up with an idea. I mentioned this morning that you could come to our meetings and make public comments and for the agenda items or public comments for items not on the agenda. But then I came up with a better idea. You could apply to be a public board member on this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll miss you.
Selena, thank you. Thank you for everything. I'm probably the newest board member, but my onboarding was very smooth with all of your help and guidance, and just appreciate getting to know you over the last year.
I want to echo what everybody else has said, all the good things that everyone has said about Selena. And I also want to commend you because I come from an agency where I have to deal with a board of about a dozen, 12, 13 board members. And so I know I have firsthand experience how interesting that can be. And so I really do want to commend you on how you are able to kind of herd us all and provide everybody basically everything they need when they need it in a timely manner. And it's just really impressive that you're able to do that and always with a smile and with a polite note, even if it's the 10th reminder that you haven't, done this training or that training. So it does take a lot to deal with such a big board, and I really appreciate it and enjoy your retirement.
You want to do that now? So do that now. Okay, sure. Yeah. Let's take a break. Let's take a break. Yeah.
Motion to let her retire. I think she's like to move a little bit.
Okay.
And let lunch settle.
Okay. Let's do that.
We'll laugh a while.
All right. Okay.
Chris, we don't need to get public comment on that, do we?
No.
Thank you. Nothing to report on ABET, so I'll move ahead to the ASBOG portion. So the Council of Examiners Workshop, this board has chosen Betsy to attend that, and we have the out-of-state travel request in. We've answered a few questions on it. I'm pretty sure it's past DCA and an agency, and we're waiting to get approval or denial, one way or the other, hopefully approval. And that's our status with that. We did have the questions we had to answer is this wasn't a typical meeting. This was exam development, and you're the only one really eligible on the board to be able to do that, especially if we want good questions on the exam. So they understood that. So we'll see how it goes.
You have some possible actions in item D. Should we take public comments on A, B, and C?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that before I go to NCS. Yeah, good idea.
All right, the floor is not open to the public for public comments on item 9, A, B, and C. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a public comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I do see a raised hand from call-in user 2134 ending in 81. You can press *6 to unmute, and you should see a prompt.
Good afternoon, board members. This is Kathy Irish calling. I'm a former board member, and I just wanted to salute Selena for her retirement, and everything that is wonderful to be said about her has been said, so I won't repeat, but I do want to mention that I had left an personal item in the board room, and Selena late in the evening went and retrieved it and made sure that I had it before I flew back to Southern California. So extra effort always was Selena's brand. And Selena, I would just like to salute you for your retirement and wish you all the best for the next chapter in your life. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. I don't see any further requests for comments, so I return the floor back to you.
I'm just laughing. Okay, we'll move ahead to NCES news. So the Western Zone interim meeting is coming up in Bend, Oregon, the end of April, early May. We discussed funded delegates last time, And we have submitted an out-of-state travel request on that. It's not quite as far in the process yet. Possibly could be through DCA, not sure yet, but we're waiting to see what happens to that and answer any questions and hopefully get an approval on that one. The next, any questions before I move on? The next thing is just any news or updates that we've heard. I do have an update on that. These are zone meetings. No committee has really come out and said what they're going to be talking about, what kind of charges they're going to are. They talked about the charges, but they're not going to. They haven't talked about what any motions that they're going to have. There's going to be a few things here and there that I've heard about related to the PS geospatial exam for the surveyors, which was formerly referred to as a mapping science. I've heard there's, if you remember last year, the annual meeting, there was all the talk about the member board administrator being put on the board of directors. That the MBA committee had charge of that, so there's going to be a motion, I think, coming out about that. I was told that the structural engineering task force had a charge on developing significant structures and model law, so there may be a motion on that. There's several things. There will be an election for the vice president, which we talked about last time. And I think we have one nomination that's come from Scott Sales out of Arizona. I don't know if there's any more. I haven't received anything more on that. I'm going to ignore the chair, not put her on the spot. We're also going to be electing his own assistant vice president, and as of now, I don't know if we have any nominees. And yes, go ahead, Christina.
So I'll weigh in. So the nomination has been closed for AVP and the VP. So we did get a slate of nomination and submitted to NCES.
Nice. That's good to hear. So cool. So that means our funded delegates, if attending, we can have someone to choose from. That's it. That's really the news that I'm aware of. I don't know if anyone else working on committees knows anything else, but that's what I'm aware of. Is there anything else anyone wants to mention? Last, and this is on, let me open up the pages here. So on page 95, thank you. I lost my spot.
Yes.
I'm in the right document. I'm already there. So on page 95. So last time when we talked about funded delegates at the board meeting, we talked about associate members versus active members, board members, emeritus members. So I wanted to spell that out a little bit because after last meeting, two of our managers at the board expressed interest in being an associate manager, our associate member, because they are each involved in slightly different ways, interacting with NCWS data and NCWS on a regular basis, and they want to be considered for this board to nominate them as associate members should the opportunity arise in the future for them to attend NCWS meetings. So the first one is Brooke Kabrowski. You know both of them. She's the enforcement manager. He's very interested. Not to speak for her, I'm just telling you what she has told me. She's very interested in any of the discussions that all the member boards have about disciplinary matters, enforcement matters, things like that. She's interested in being more involved in that. Dawn Hall, being the administrative unit manager, she's very much responsible. Her staff are responsible a lot for license verifications, which we average hundreds on a regular basis, more than probably most states, and process verifications. and also related to renewals. Her staff handles all the renewals. And she also is very involved in the whole licensing process from the Connect system point of view. So both of them have expressed interest, and so we're asking you as board to approve nominating both Brooke Grabowski and Don Hall to become associate members of the California board within CES.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve, or we recommend the nomination for associate members of Brooke and Don to.
I have a motion from Frank and a second from Rosanna. Is there any discussion from the board? Okay. We'll open the floor for public comment. Is there any comment from the public in the room? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. President. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name or pressing *3. If you've called in, we are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you. And this is the moderator. The room is still muted.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Okay. President Martinez?
She answered yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Try yours now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me start over. President Martinez?
Yes.
Vice President Rufino?
Yes.
Dr. Amistad?
Yes.
Dr. Asgari?
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio?
Yes.
Ms. Haggard?
Yes.
Mr. Hartley?
Yes.
Ms. Matheson?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Villegas?
Yes.
Mr. Welbeck?
Yes.
Ms. Wong?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Congrats
Okay, moving ahead.
on wanting more work. Good for you.
That's really it. They're not sure what they really asked for. So on page 96, at last meeting during our NCS discussion, Frank asked to have this put on the agenda. He was asking if, correct me at any time here. He was asking if committee chairs of NCES are funded to the two NCES meetings, the zone meetings and the annual meeting. I told him I would put this on the agenda and I would research it and get back to you guys about it. So I looked at it. They are funded to the annual meeting. They're not funded to any of the zone meetings, the interim. I had a chance to talk to Davey Cox, the CEO of NCES, asked him about it, told him about the discussion, and he said he cannot recollect, and he used the term recollect to list the South. He said, I don't remember ever us really having that discussion before. He says, so it's probably a worthy discussion. I told him, I don't want something brought up on the floor at the annual meeting last minute and all the other boards say this is a surprise on us. We can't vote on this. You know, he goes, yeah, don't do that. So my idea was that our board was to bring this forth to ask the president-elect to add this as a charge to the appropriate committee or task force to study and consider it and bring it back to the council. He thought that would be a good idea. He recommended to bring it forth once our board decides if we want to do it. Bring it forth in the zone meeting and see if the zone is interested. If the zone is interested, then it actually could come in as a zone recommendation or a zone resolution. If the zone's not interested, then California can still do it themselves. But at least you get more people apprised of what's going on, especially being that the Western Zone is not the last zone meeting of the year. So if you want to do something, that would be our advice as to the best way to handle this. That way people are not gonna be voting on something or anything now. It's up to the president-elect to say, yeah, let's study this. And it's up to us to convince everyone and the president-elect to study this. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, Frank, see if there's anything you want to add to that.
Okay. The only thing I would add is, first of all, thank you, Rick and staff and whoever else collaborated in putting this document together. I find it very helpful to understand, just the who our current emeritus members are and everything, and the actual travel. I did not understand who the board president's assembly is. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, because that's not something that happens very often. It used to happen more often. So it used to be that they had the MBAs meet every other year, usually in January, at NCAA's headquarters for a day meeting. So for us, it was a day travel for a day meeting for a day travel back, not to mention Guam. And every other year, and then the alternate years, the MBAs and the board presidents would go to the board president assembly. They have kind of drifted away from that, though they still have it in their bylaws and everything. Probably because of the more virtual meetings they're having now, the state of the council meetings, and the fact that we're having these all zone meetings. We've had one all zone meeting before, and we're gonna have another one here, I think this next year. So they've kind of moved away from it, but they still have the ability to have an MBA meeting at any time or a board president assembly at any time.
So yeah, thank you for that. And I would recommend, and I would make a motion in a second, to make, to adopt the recommendation that you just described. I think that is a great plan, a great way for the president-elect, if he or she chooses to take a look at this, and then to have a committee that they can look at it. And because, as it stands right now, the chairs are the standing committees and task forces, but what about the members? And so on. So that's a mute point to go over right now, the details, but that committee, if it gets established, then it will be, at that time, we can discuss, or argue what should be included, not included, and that sort of thing. So at this point, I think, if I heard you correctly, is you would like for the board to take direction. So I move that the board explore, or for lack of a better word, explore a discussion with the president-elect to establish a special committee or special task force
to assign a charge to an appropriate committee.
To assign charge to an appropriate committee to look at the travel expenses authorization.
To fund committee chairs.
To fund committee chairs and members of the committee.
I wouldn't say and members.
No,
I would kill it.
To fund the
Because
committee.
we're about 10 to 12 members in every committee.
Got it. Okay.
So I would just start with
fund the committee chair.
Little by the elephant.
I got it. All right. So I don't know if it's clear, but I think it's worthwhile for us to have the discussion, and whether it's going to get approved or not. So,
Well, I told Davey that my rationale is that at the first zone meeting, that's when you start hearing from that zone reactions to what the motions are going to be coming up in August. And then not every zone gets to hear all that. And then the zone chair never gets to hear that. Some of the zone or the committee chairs need hear that. So to me, it gives an opportunity to hear firsthand what some reactions are, because they still have some time to finish their reports to be published for the annual meeting. I think it gives them an opportunity to get a much better feel from the whole council about what's happening. And he agreed to that. He agreed. That's probably a good point.
Okay, so that's my motion.
Motion. Betsy.
A question on it. With this collaborative motion that ended up to fund committee chairs for what? To attend the zone meetings?
The zone meetings.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion from Frank and a second from Betsy. Is there any discussion from the board?
Are there any co-chairs or of any of the committees, or is it always just a single person?
Sometimes there's a co-chair, but it's usually just a chair.
Further discussion? See none, but not.
Sorry, I need a motion repeated.
And
I have,
I'm gonna delegate that to Rick.
I was gonna make you guys do it.
I'll beat you
The
to it.
motion is to recommend to its CES President-elect to assign a charge to the appropriate committee to study the feasibility of funding committee chairs to all of these zone interim meetings and report back to the council.
Perfect. Great job, Rick.
What you were thinking, wasn't it?
Doing a great job, Rick. Okay, we'll open up the floor to the public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad, Dr. Ascari,
yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Mr. Waldeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I think the Vice President has an item he would like to bring up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. With your permission, I would like to ask that staff place in agenda items at our May board meeting for possible action. And the agenda item is requesting the California Board to nominate me as a candidate for the NCCS National Treasurer.
It's fine.
It's not gonna go on the flyer.
I'm not sure if we need I don't need make a motion. It's just
That's just a suggestion, yeah. So we'll add that on the agenda and urgency that way as a discussion next at the May meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on to item 10, President's Report and Board Member Activities. One of the two things here, want to go around and talk about our activities, and then I need to set up a nomination committee for the next president and vice president. So we'll do the board member activities first, and then move into that item. I have nothing to report on activities last month, or since our last meeting. So, anyone else?
Yes. Go ahead, Betsy. I'll follow you.
I completed my Form 700.
Second that one too. I did that.
Dallas Sweeney and I spoke at the Fresno State Geomatics Conference in January about licensure and the path to professional development and licensure, and it was well received. And thanks for joining me, Dallas.
So I attended NCES Finance Committee's say it again. Yes, subcommittee meeting on February 17th. And there's going to be a full finance committee meeting next week.
Right.
Yeah, thank you again, Mr. President. Two things. One, I attended the VP President's training, and to my surprise, it was a great training, and really want to give a applaud Lucy and the acting deputy director. The agenda was terrific, and I found a lot of people who have been around for so long that I learned from that training. So that was a great training. And secondly, I attended NCES 2026 State of the Council webinars on February 25th. And that was also very interesting. So I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to listen in on that, but it was, there's always a bit of news or bit of something to take from those meetings. So anyways, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
You have a supplemental report.
Yes.
So I also convened a meeting, the NCES Western Zone nominating committee meeting, and verified the slate of the nomination submitted to, to the headquarter. And I think, we're very excited because we filled the spots, so that we will have candidates for. I think so. Well, we have.
We have more than one candidate.
One and one. But we will be opening the floor for nomination. That's always the procedure. So, but very excited. So we will meet again next month to talk about the elections.
Take public comment on this now and then move on to the next item. Floor is open for public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to make a comment? Being none, moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no request for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to nominating committee. So I believe, Rick, historically, or what's been occurring past, usually the previous two presidents were on the committee if they were available.
Any two past presidents.
Okay, so I'll start with, are there any past presidents that would volunteer to be on this committee? I know, but this is I like to pick.
What did you say?
Voluntold? Voluntold. Okay, I have one. Christina. Do I have another? Come on, you guys gonna leave her hanging like that?
I've never heard that was anything other than the two previous past presidents.
Any previous. That's still on the board.
Mike. I got Mike. All right, we have two. Perfect. Really open. So Mike and Christina will be on the nominating committee. I encourage all the board members that have not sat in the vice president or president spot to put your name in that. It is a good experience. Okay, do I need to take public comment on this? Go ahead. Okay. We will now open the floor for public comment. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon next to your name, or if you've called in, pressing *3. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. I see no requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. And thank you to the volunteers to the nominating committee. So we need to have a name to vote on for the main. The main meeting would be when we would vote on.
If you're going to come to the main meeting, you're going to announce the nominations.
Do you want to be that in recorded on? We don't need to.
You want to come to the main meeting and make your nominations, present your nominations for president and vice president for 26, 27 for the board.
Okay. All right. One more item, then we break for cake, and then we go into closed session. Item number 11, approval of the meeting minutes.
That's page 103. Begins at page 103.
You need a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
No.
No.
I second that, but I have a comment.
Second from Mike with a comment.
Under item 3, public comment for items not on the agenda, we had a gentleman named David Schwagel representing, I believe it's Vice Consulting Engineers. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. VICE, Bang Inc. Consulting Engineers is Vice. Never mind.
Mike needs cake.
The second is still good.
The second is still good. I thought a correction needed to be made to the minutes. I am incorrect.
You need sugar. Let's make this vote good. All right. Okay. Is there any other further discussion from the board? No. The floor is open to the public for comment. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Not seeing any. Moderator, can you please open WebEx for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. If any member of the public would like to comment, please click on the hand icon next to your name to raise your hand. Or if you've called in, press *3 to raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I don't see any requests for comment. I return the floor back to you.
Thank you. Selena, could you please call the vote?
President Martinez,
Yes.
Vice President Rufino,
Yes.
Dr. Amistad,
Yes.
Dr. Ascari,
Yes.
Ms. D'Antonio,
Yes.
Ms. Haggard,
Yes.
Mr. Hartley,
Yes.
Ms. Matheson,
Abstain.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Villegas,
Yes.
Walbeck,
Yes.
Ms. Wong. Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, we will now take a break for cake and then go into closed session. So
I didn't have one.
yeah, we're taking a break and then we're going to close session and then
And we're ending open session.
correct. Open session is done.
Correct, Chris?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.